everyone, it's Melissa, and today I'm doing the Read Like a Librarian tag. I was tagged by Courtney Fairder quite a while ago, I think, and I just wasn't really doing many videos back in December, so I now have time to do this. The original tag was by Jen the Librarian, so I will make sure to tag both those channels below. So number one is, what is the genre you read the most but like the least? So I went and I kind of looked up all the books that I've read, and because I have a spreadsheet because I'm that kind of person. And I looked up the genres I read the most, and for the most part they are genres that I really, really like. But one genre that came up in the top was contemporary, if that's even a genre. I find the whole concept of genres a little bit mind-boggling. But yeah, contemporary is apparently something I read a lot, but it's definitely my least favorite. I'm not drawn to a book because someone says oh, this is a contemporary about, I'm immediately turned off. I prefer things that are historical or that are fantasy or dystopian, or not a contemporary normal setting. Number two is what book, author, or genre do you wish people would read less? There's no genre that I think people should read less of. I think there's a bit of elitism in some book circles about the types of books people read. I'm especially thinking of romance. People turn their nose up at romance readers and other stuff too. So I just feel any genre is fine, but in terms of book or author, the author I think people should read less is Ayn Rand. I think I'm just going to leave that there because I don't think I can adequately put into words the kind of problematic ideas that are put forward in Ayn Rand's books. You can Google it. Or maybe you've read them and you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's my answer for that. Number three is what book, author, or genre do you wish people would read more? So again, I don't feel like there's a genre that necessarily people need to read more of. If a specific genre is not your type of thing, you don't have to read it. If you're not into science fiction, if you're not into literary fiction, whatever, that's fine. And I couldn't think of a specific book or a specific author. So I'm going to kind of I think this is still in the spirit of the question, but I think people should read more Indigenous authors. I think specifically, more broadly, people should be reading BIPOC authors more in general. But if I'm going for as specific as possible, I think that just based on what I see kind of online and stuff, that there are a lot of Indigenous authors that the reading world is just sleeping on, and we need to do better with that. So but yes, Black and other people of color also need to be read more, but I really think there is a lack of reading Indigenous authors from my limited experience, what I've seen. Number four is, what fiction book would you recommend to someone who doesn't read fiction? I thought this question was so interesting because who doesn't read fiction? Are there people out there who just read nonfiction? But I'm sure there are. I know people who read more nonfiction than they do fiction, but someone who never reads fiction, I struggle to think of a book that they would like. And I tried to think of something like a fiction book that reads kind of like nonfiction, and the only thing I could think of is something akin to Tolkien's histories, or those books that are more kind of creation tales or like that kind of thing. Like if you read like some of Tolkien's things that aren't Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, like Unfinished Tales, like Silmarillion, like they read more kind of like mythologies or like a nonfiction history kind of thing. But like that is definitely not everyone's cup of tea. So I decided to go the complete other direction and try to think of a book that encapsulates a lot of different genres, and then maybe something will speak to that person, like they'll like something. And I couldn't really pare it down, so I'm just going to say Douglas Adams in general because like, so either Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or the Dirk Gently series. I've only read the first Dirk Gently book, but both of those books are more than one genre. So I think they appeal to a broader audience. So Hitchhiker's Guide is science fiction, but it's also humor and adventure. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency is kind of science fiction, but also a ghost story, also a mystery detective story, and definitely humor. So yeah, I think I would just recommend Douglas Adams because there's a little bit of everything. And I think his writing style would appeal to like a wide variety of people. Question 5 is, what nonfiction book would you recommend to someone who doesn't read nonfiction? I found this question a lot easier because I read a nonfiction earlier this year that really felt like a fiction book. It felt like just a story unfolding in front of you, and that was The Feather Thief by Kirk Wallace Johnson. So this book is like a narrative nonfiction, and the author is kind of like investigating a little bit this museum heist where these like irreplaceable feathers and bird specimens were stolen, and there's like a whole like ring of like feather like black market for like feathers for like the like fly tying, like salmon fishing hobbyists, and it's insane. It feels like a fiction, and the way it's written is also like I said, very narrative. So I think people who don't typically read nonfiction would like that one. And the last question is number 6. You're asked to start a book club, and the members could be anyone of any age or background or interest. What would be your first choice of book? I don't friggin' know. Like, this one was also hard. So I tried my hardest to think of something that wouldn't be like too triggering or would like appeal to a lot of people, but I just couldn't. So I'm going to pick Split Tooth by Tanya Takak. I don't think this book necessarily was peaked to everybody, and there are some like content warnings in here for like abuse and like sexual assault, and it's not like the easiest read, and it's a kind of a weird book, if I'm being honest. But the reason I'm choosing it is my book club read this last year. It was the first book of the year that we read, and I've never had better discussion and like, yeah, than I had with that book. It's a short book, like you could probably read it in a day, but there's just like so much to talk about in it. So it might not be the best for like every book club, and I think some people would find it either a bit too difficult to read because of some of the content, or would find it maybe a little bit too out there. But we all thought it was just like really, really thought provoking. So that would be my pick for that. So that's my Read Like a Librarian tag. I'm going to be one of those annoying people who doesn't tag anyone and just says, do it if you want to do it. And that's because this has been going around for a little while and I can't remember who's done it and not done it. So if you haven't done it yet and you would like to do it, please do it. And you can just say that I tagged you. All right. Thanks everyone so much for watching, and we'll chat soon. Take care.